And it will be rude to say that people don't know much about her in Canberra. All people, all of us know that she's a wonderful journalist and presenter for ABC television and radio news. She joined the ABC as a news cadet and is now a Canberra-based reporter. Her reports appear on a range of current affairs programs, including ABC TV's Late Line, and she presents the Culture Quarter on ABC News 24. In 2011, Siobhan was the recipient of the U.S. Studies Center's inaugural Media Fellowship in partnership with the World Press Institute. In 2 months of immersion in U.S. politics, business, culture, and media, she visited the New York Times, CNN, and the Obama 2012 campaign headquarters in Chicago. But this was a formal part. The less formal part is that one day I just woke up. It was a unique day in Canberra that it was snowing. And she just went to Mount Ainslie in an idea to make a snowman. But ABC television was chasing her and she was caught snow-handed. So please welcome Siobhan Heanue.
Good evening, everyone. It's so lovely to see you all here tonight to discuss in fine company and amongst friends an issue that is very important not only in Canberra but in the wider societies that we live and move in. As Mohammed duly explained, my name is Siobhan Heanue and I'm a journalist with the ABC here in Canberra. And firstly, I'd like to acknowledge that we meet here tonight on Ngunnawal land, and I'd like to, on behalf of all our distinguished speakers, pay my deepest respects to their elders past and present. This evening's event is just as much about you as it is about our esteemed speakers. There'll be an opportunity later in the night for you all to ask questions, and from my experience attending Forum Australia, that's often the most enlightening part of the evening and certainly one of the most enjoyable aspects of attending a forum like this. We have 4 speakers who've generously shared their time with us this evening to address this topic according to their areas of influence, understanding and experience. The speakers you'll be hearing from tonight, and I'll introduce them in a little more detail as we progress. From this end of the table, we have Martin Fisk, who is the CEO of Menslink here in Canberra and the region. We have Mary Peakin, who is the CEO of Relationships Australia in Canberra and the surrounding area. Then we have Associate Professor Tamina Rashid from the University of Canberra. And lucky last, David Matthews, who is the Interim Coordinator General for Family Safety in the ACT Government. Ladies and gentlemen, really wonderful to see you all, and it's great to have so many people from within the sector here tonight as well. We appreciate you all giving some of your time to this very important issue. Funnily enough, just this morning I got a text message from a friend of mine who works in a hospital, public hospital, and she said she wanted to tell me that there'd been this increase in security at her hospital just today because there was a receptionist whose ex-partner was, quote, back in town, and he'd been the perpetrator of violence against her in her home life. And she went on to explain how the entirety of the hospital department that she works in was in semi-lockdown. There were public spaces that had been locked. Nurses and doctors and other staff had been shown a picture of this person who was deemed a bit of a threat to the receptionist that worked with them all. And to me, it really kind of showed just how far the ripple effects of domestic violence and similar threats, in whatever form they may take, can be in our society. The fact that this was an incident that didn't just affect one woman or her family members in her home, it was affecting doctors and nurses and staff at this hospital, a public hospital, as well as patients and members of the public who were restricted in their access and who had to see these big burly security guards walking around today as a result. Now, nothing happened, I'm pleased to report, but I think it's just one stories that happen across our society every kind of day that show just how the effects of domestic violence can feather out and ripple out and affect many more lives than those who are directly affected. As a journalist, it doesn't take long to be exposed to the effects of domestic violence and the stories that we report on. And I cut my teeth as a court and crime reporter, so I saw a lot of it as a very young journalist. And funnily enough, about 10 years ago when I started out, for some reason, and I'm still not sure what that reason was, which disturbs me, but we had these guidelines that dictated we weren't really supposed to report on domestic violence matters in court unless something really horrendous or significant and therefore deemed to be of public interest occurred. Now, I'm pleased to say that that mindset has completely shifted over the past 10 years, and we now quite regularly find ourselves discussing in detail, examining and exposing incidents of domestic violence, and it's not seen as something that has to be swept under the carpet anymore. And I think you'd all agree that it's a topic that people are much more willing and able to speak about. I know that calls to various domestic violence crisis centres have increased in recent years, and hopefully that has something to do with the increase in the willingness of people to talk about these issues. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce our first speaker tonight, who is David Matthews. Mr Matthews has held several senior executive roles in the ACT government over the past 10 years. He has extensive experience in leadership roles in human services delivery, particularly in social housing, homelessness, children and youth services, in youth justice and